Hello, and welcome to our second NCAA Baseball Bulletin for the 2005 season. I want to again remind you to continually check our website for updated rules and mechanics interpretations. And I'd also request any video footage from games that you may work that you feel may be beneficial to the umpires working college baseball across our country. Our first clip is a play that we reviewed last month. This play involves a runner running to first base after a ground ball on the infield. I received a large number of questions about my comments during this clip. I want to be sure that we were clear that I did not insinuate that this runner should be called out for being out of the 45-foot running lane. My opinion is he could be called out for moving more than 3 feet to avoid this tag by the first baseman. Here's another clip from our last video that I received several questions about. On this play, the offensive team's head coach felt like the first baseman's foot was pulled off the base. He came out and asked the base umpire to get help from his partner at home plate. I suggested last month that this was a great job by our crew of getting together and trying to get the call right. The question came up is, should the head coach be involved in this conversation? My thought is, ideally, they would not, but in this situation, it did not seem to cause a problem, and as you can see, did not last very long. The following situation requires a bit of setup. This is a balk by a right-hand pitcher called by our first base umpire. What the video does not show is that the head coach from the defensive team begins to come out of the dugout to argue or ask a question. As our first base umpire is moving toward the middle of the infield to his new position, he informs the head coach that he is not allowed to come out and argue this balk. Our first base umpire ejects the head coach as he crosses the foul line. The NCAA does not have a rule or policy stating that head coaches may not argue some types of balk calls. Some conferences have such policies, and umpires must be aware that these policies do not apply to any games played outside of those conferences. The ensuing argument gives us several examples of how to and how not to handle situations. The action is recorded again as the head coach tries to approach our first base umpire who has moved into the middle of the diamond. Note how our plate umpire does a great job of trying to cut off our head coach here and keep him away from our middle umpire. As you see, our plate umpire tries to stay in between the umpire and the coach. Now our umpire responds and becomes far too aggressive. I want to be very clear that this type of aggressive behavior from an umpire is not acceptable to the NCAA. In last month's video bulletin, I spoke about situations where players or coaches were suspended due to a bumping incident. I told you that we need to make sure that we notify the offender at the time of the bumping and let them know that there is a suspension involved. Watch this video clip and watch what a good job our umpire does of not only noting the bump but also read his lips, and you'll see that's where he says that's a suspension. I think our base umpires do a very good job here of trying to intervene and keep this coach away. They are not too aggressive, but they are also not going to let him back at their partner. As was discussed with the rule change for the 2005 season, ejected coaches or players must leave sight and sound of the field. These examples do not qualify, and these individuals should be removed by game management. Let's now look at some proper rule enforcements. On this bunt attempt by the batter, he pushes the bat out toward the ball. Once he misses the ball, he pulls the bat back. This is a great call of a strike on the bunt attempt. This next play is a ball that is hit down in the vicinity of the batter's foot. Our third base umpire calls it a foul ball. After watching this play several times, I'm not convinced it actually hit his foot. Watch the runner's reaction as soon as the ball is hit. He immediately takes off for first base. This is an extremely difficult call, especially from being over 100 feet away. In a situation like this, if we're unsure, we should try to read the batter's reaction before killing this play. Now let's look at some good habits exhibited by some of our umpires over the last few weeks. This first one is great hustle by our plate umpire getting to the 45-foot line on a routine play on the infield. Watch the jump that he gets out from behind the catcher. In this situation, with the runner on first base only, we have a ball hit to the fence in left field. Our home plate umpire rotates to third base, and our first base umpire rotates to home plate on the home run. Notice he does a very good job of keeping the players away from the home plate circle. This situation starts with the runner on second base, the base hit toward the outfield. The batter runner ends up at second base. After the completion of the play, the defensive team appeals that the batter runner missed first base. In the last clip, you'll see our middle umpire, the first base umpire, doing a very, very good job of getting over and watching that base touch at first base. We will close again by highlighting our points of emphasis for the 2005 season: game management, tobacco use zero tolerance policy, and the force play slide rule. We thank you again for your time and attention, and please check back in the next 2 weeks for another video bulletin.